August 2nd, 1947, 5:41 p.m. A radio operator in Santiago, Chile, receives a message from an approaching aircraft. 5 letters in Morse code. STENDEC. STENDEC. The operator is confused. He requests clarification. The aircraft repeats the message. STENDEC. Then, silence. The plane was Stardust, a British South American Airways flight from Buenos Aires to Santiago. 11 people aboard. A routine 5-hour flight over the Andes Mountains. For 51 years, no one knew what happened to them. Then, in 1998, a glacier in the Andes gave up its secret.
This is the story of Stardust, an aviation mystery, a cryptographic puzzle, and a word, STENDEC, that aviation has never been able to explain. August 1947, the golden age of aviation. World War II has ended. Military aircraft are being converted to civilian airliners. The world is reconnecting. British South American Airways operates routes across the Atlantic and down to South America. Stardust is an Avro Lancastrian, a converted Lancaster bomber, elegant, reliable, flown by experienced RAF veterans now working as commercial pilots. 11 souls board in Buenos Aires, 6 passengers, business travelers, a woman carrying diamonds, a man with a rare deck of playing cards. The King of Spades would later become a symbol of this mystery. The crew: Captain Reginald Cook, First Officer Norman Cook, Radio Officer Dennis Harmer. 1:46 p.m. Stardust departs Buenos Aires. The flight plan: climb to 24,000 feet, cross the Andes, descend into Santiago. 5 hours, routine. The Andes loom ahead, 23,000-foot peaks, magnificent, dangerous, but the weather is perfect. For hours, the flight proceeds normally. Radio Officer Harmer sends regular position updates, everything by the book. 5:33 p.m. Harmer transmits ETA Santiago, 5:45 p.m. Estimated arrival in 12 minutes. 5:41 p.m. Another message, ETA Santiago, 5:45 p.m. They're 4 minutes out, beginning their descent. But Stardust isn't 4 minutes from Santiago. Here's what the crew didn't know. They'd encountered a jet stream. In 1947, meteorologists barely understood this phenomenon. Winds aloft exceeding 100 miles per hour, pushing against the aircraft. Stardust was flying slower over the ground than the pilots realized. Their navigation calculations, based on estimated airspeed, were wrong. They thought they'd crossed the Andes. They hadn't. They were flying directly toward Tupungato, a mountain over 22,000 feet high. 5:41 p.m. Radio Officer Harmer begins his final transmission. The Santiago operator receives it. 5 letters, STENDEC. The operator is puzzled. STENDEC? That's not a recognized aviation term, not a distress code, not anything he recognizes. He requests clarification. Harmer sends it again, deliberately. STENDEC. Then the transmission ends. Santiago calls back. No response. Stardust has vanished. 5:45 p.m. Stardust doesn't arrive. Emergency procedures activate. Search aircraft launch from both Chile and Argentina. For 2 weeks they search. The Andes are vast, countless peaks, glaciers, valleys. The searchers find nothing. August 15th, the search is abandoned. 11 people presumed dead. Families hold memorial services for loved ones with no bodies to bury. But the mystery has only begun. That final word, STENDEC, captivates the public. What did it mean? Was it a code? A mistake? A desperate final message? Theories multiply, newspapers speculate, cryptographers analyze, aviation experts debate. The years pass, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 50 years, Stardust and its 11 souls remain lost, and STENDEC remains unexplained.
What did STENDEC mean? Decades of theories. Let's examine the most popular. Theory 1. Simple Morse code error. Harmer meant to send descent, but miskeyed it. Stress, urgency, a panicked mistake. Theory 2. Santiago misheard. Descent garbled into something that sounded like STENDEC. Theory 3. An acronym. Severe turbulence encountered, now descending, emergency, crash. Each letter standing for a word. Creative, but unlikely. Theory 4. A navigation code. Some specialized terminology the crew understood, but civilian radio operators didn't. Military holdover language. Theory 5. Hypoxia. At 24,000 feet, oxygen deprivation can impair judgment. Perhaps Harmer was confused, his mind not functioning properly. Theory 6. Equipment malfunction. The aircraft itself garbled a clear transmission into nonsense. Professional cryptographers examined STENDEC. They found nothing. No hidden meaning, no pattern, no solution. STENDEC entered popular culture, crossword puzzles, mystery novels, aviation lore, one of the greatest unsolved puzzles in aviation history. But the bigger mystery remained. Where was Stardust? January 1998, 51 years later. Argentine mountaineers climbing Tupungato Glacier. Summer in the southern hemisphere. The ice melting. One climber sees something. Metal, glinting in the sun. They investigate. An aircraft engine. Rolls-Royce Merlin. Then more wreckage. Fuselage sections. Wings. Debris scattered across the glacier at 15,000 feet. Stardust. Found at last. The glacier had been moving, slowly carrying the wreckage down the mountain for 5 decades, finally exposing it, nature's conveyor belt revealing its secret. Investigators arrive. Human remains are recovered respectfully. Personal effects, including that deck of playing cards, the King of Spades still recognizable after 51 years in ice. The registration is confirmed. G-A-G-H-W. Stardust. No doubt. The impact analysis tells the story. High-speed collision with the mountain. The aircraft flew straight into Tupungato at cruise speed. The crew never saw it coming. Clouds concealed the peak. They believed they'd cleared the Andes. Death was instantaneous. No suffering. A small mercy. We now know what happened to Stardust. The jet stream, winds the crew didn't know about, couldn't measure, didn't understand, slowed their ground speed dramatically. They thought they'd crossed the mountains. They were still approaching them. Their navigational calculations, based on pre-jet stream meteorology, were fatally wrong. Flying through clouds, they couldn't see the mountain ahead. In 1947, there was no radar warning, no ground proximity alert, just dead reckoning navigation and a deadly mistake. The impact triggered an avalanche. Snow buried the wreckage immediately. That's why the 1947 search never found them. The glacier entombed them, preserved them for 51 years. But what about STENDEC? Despite finding the aircraft, we still don't know for certain. The most likely explanation? A simple error. Harmer meant descent, but miskeyed it in Morse. The letters are similar. Under stress, in those final moments, a mistake. Or perhaps the radio equipment malfunctioned, sending garbled signals. Or, we'll never know. Some mysteries, even when the physical evidence is found, retain their secrets. STENDEC has become part of aviation lore, a 5-letter word that will forever symbolize the mysteries of flight, the unknown, the unexplained. 11 people flew into the Andes on August 2, 1947. For 51 years they rested in ice, unknown, unfound, their final message, whatever it truly meant, echoing across decades. Stardust taught aviation about jet streams, about the dangers of mountain flying, about the limits of navigation technology. The lessons bought with 11 lives improved safety for millions of future passengers. The wreckage remains on Tupungato Glacier, a memorial to those who flew in the golden age of aviation, when flight was still an adventure, when mysteries could endure for half a century. And STENDEC? Perhaps some words are meant to remain mysterious, a reminder that even in our age of answers, some questions linger. STENDEC, whatever it meant, whoever meant to say it, it endures.